Hello everyone, welcome for the next segment on NMAT last lap. So we are back with our fourth session on NMAT series, and good to see you uh, on the Diwali week. So happy Diwali first of all to everyone. May the festival bring well good time, prosperity, and well uh, good times ahead. All right. So, good to see everyone. Right. Uh, in math. So, right, we have been doing this series. This is the fourth session, and we know that in math has a different style of questions as compared to the CAT exam, right? So, therefore, we have to gear up for this exam specifically. So, in that spirit, right, let's start with the session. Here we go. All right. So just to let you know that Career Launcher has its specific uh, module for all the other management entrance examinations apart from CAT. So in case you're looking for a specific guidance on that, look out for our program on online classes for snaps at NMAT, right? Something that you can look out for. Right, so the details are there in the description of the video as well as you can scan over here, right? All right, so we're ready to go. Here we start people with the session. All right, so here we go. Question one, percentage. Okay, so I'll start it off, and in case any queries are there, I am looking forward to any queries on the chat box. You can respond to me. I'll handle any kind of doubts. Right? Okay, so here's the first one. When the price of coffee is decreased by 37.5%, the total expenditure on it falls by 10%. By what percentage did the consumption of coffee change? So there are three things that this question mentions: price, expenditure, consumption. Consumption is quantity in kg, expenditure is amount in rupees, price is also amount in rupees. And these quantities, they're interrelated such that the total amount spent will be the price times the quantity, right? Perfect. So since this is a percentage question, so we can assume any suitable numbers. It does not matter whatever numbers we take. So what I'm doing is I'm going to assign the price as 100 rupees per kg. I'm going to take the quantity as 1 kg so that the amount being spent is 100 rupees. This is the initial values. And then we'll do the percentage changes as per described. So price is decreased by 37.5. So 100 would become 100 minus 37.5 or 62.5 rupees, right? So 62.5 rupees per kg is the new price. Now we are writing the new values, right? And total expenditure falls by 10%. So this 100 rupees would become 90 rupees. So 90 is 62.5 into the new quantity. Let's call it Q, which is being bought. So with respect to one, we are comparing the new quantity. Obviously, it's look like it's more than one, and that is why by what percentage did the consumption change? So it should be an increase, not a decrease. So options 2 and 4 are ruled out, right? So the quantity Q is coming to be this 90 over 62.5, which I think we can write as 125 by 2 to make things simple. And then 5 can be cancelled here. This is 18 into 5. This is 25 into 5. So this is 18 into 2, 36 by 25. 36 by 25 is 1 plus 11 by 25. 36 minus 25 is 11. So this is 1 and plus 11 by 25 would be what? 11 into 4 by 100. So 44 by 100, simply 0.44. So this is 1.44 kg. So 1 has become 1.44 and hence that's an increase of 44%. The first option is correct, right? So this is the usual way to do percentage based questions. When numbers are not given, right, it makes sense for us to assume the numbers, right, as we did over here. So a very routine problem of percentage. Perfect. Okay, so I think what I'll do is, in some questions I would want your response as well, right? So let me know if you're able to solve, right? It would be helpful for us to not only see that. I mean, one thing is that you can ask me doubts, but also try to solve along with me, right? And share your answers as if you get them, right? Okay, here we go. Next one. A varies inversely as the square of B, B varies directly as the square root of C, C varies directly as the cube. So it's a question of variation and lots of variables. So let's start writing the things, ratio and proportion. Okay. At the end, he's asking if A is 1 when E is 1, then if E is 3, what is A? So it looks like we have to establish the relationship between A and E, right? Okay, so this is given A is varying inversely as the square of B. So A is proportional to 1 over B square. A varies inversely as the square of B. Whereas B varies directly, B is proportional to the square root of C. Perfect. Then C varies directly as the cube of D. Perfect. Then D varies inversely as the square of E. So we have to link the whole things all together and reach to E, right? Okay, so A, can I say, is proportional to 1 over B square, and B is proportional to square root of C. So B square is proportional to C. So A is simply speaking inversely proportional to C. C being further proportional to D cube, we can therefore say A is proportional to 1 over D cube, and D being proportional to 1 over E square, right? So therefore, in place of D, we will replace it with 1 over E square. So A is proportional to 1 over D, and D is proportional to 1 over E square. So we'll replace D with 1 by E, right? 1 by E square and whole cube of that. So therefore, eventually this is coming to be proportional to E power 6, right? A is directly proportional to E power 6. So therefore, A is 1, E is 1. So when E will be 3, so A will be proportional to 3 power 6 or 729, right? So that is the connection of A to E. A is proportional to the sixth power of E. Or you can say that A over E power 6 is a constant value, right? So if A is 1 and E is 1, so when E will become 3, A will become 3 power 6, right? Because A over E power 6 is constant, right? So this is a usual direct question of proportionality, right? Okay. Any doubts, any queries? Do let me know, else we can move on. I can come back to any queries if you have, please share, right? Okay. Can we continue? Let's see the next one. Here we go. Okay, so something on SICI. So I'll give you a minute to try. Why don't you try this one? I think, let's see if you can get this one. Let me give you a minute to try. All right, share your answers if you get them on the chat box. It's a question of, I think, compound interest. Yes, very much doable. All right, so let me start. If you get this, do let me know, right? Share your answers. So a sum was invested at a certain rate of CI. It was amounted to 32,000 at the end of 2 years. So if P is the principal, R is the rate of interest. So P into 1 plus R square, because 2 years, is 32,000. I'm not writing R by 100. You must have noticed that. It is my habit to write a rate in fraction form, right? So I don't need to write that divide by 100 every time, right? Basically, I'm just replacing R by 100 as small r, right? And then for 5 years, so P into 1 plus R power 5, right? That is 60 to 500. Perfect. So two equations, two variables can be easily solved. We have to find the initial sum. We have to find P. Just a normal frame the equations, solve them, right? So divide them so that P will get cancelled. So second equation divided by first equation. What do we get? So only the 1 plus R power will remain. Power of 5 minus 2, 3. And that power equals 625. 0, 0 cancels. 625 by 320. 5 can again be cancelled. And it's 125 by 64. Which is a perfect cube, because on the left hand side also it's a cube. So we are getting a very nice value. This is 5 by 4 whole cube, right? So therefore we get that 1 plus R is 5 by 4. Or rate of interest is basically 25%, right? Small r has come as 1 by 4. So we can just replace directly this 1 plus R value in the first equation and get the value of P. So from the first equation, we get P is 32,000 over 1 plus R square, and 1 plus R is 5 by 4. So this is coming to be 32,000. So just finishing the calculation now. So this is divided by 5 by 4 square, or into 4 by 5 square. So into 4 by 5 square will be 16 by 25. Right. Okay. So 25 can be cancelled from this. Let me write this as 320 into 100, so that I can cancel with 25. 320 to 100, 32,000. 25 cancels. This is 4. 16 into 32 into 4. So these are all powers of 2. So how much power of 2? 16 into 4 is 64. 2 power 6. And this is 32, 2 power 5. So overall 2 power 11. I know 2 power 10 is 1024. So 2 power 11 will be twice of 1024, which is 2048. So this is coming to be 2048, and 10 is also there. So 20,480 rupees, right? Okay. So people, what do you say? I mean, I would want you to solve with me, right? I think this is the crunch time, and the purpose of this session is not only that you're going through the video, but I would want your responses, right? So I'm looking out for you, that you solve it quicker than I can, right? That's the challenge. So I hope you will accept this, right? Let's take the next problems and try to solve it faster than I can. Give me your response. All right. Here we go. Next one. Okay, so I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a head start to try this one. And let's see if you can get this. All right, I think I've given you a minute. Let's see now. So this question is about two persons. One is chasing the other. For Chetan to chase down means he's running towards him and he's trying to go ahead, but ultimately he chases him down. So from the very statement, for Chetan to chase down Deepak, it clearly means Chetan must be faster than Deepak. Only then he can chase him down, right? Along the straight road joining them, when they start together, he needs to run 2.5 times the initial distance between them. So from this, what I understand is that there's a initial separation between them, and then this guy Chetan runs towards Deepak. Deepak is trying to, you know, uh, go farther than Chetan and not get caught, but ultimately Chetan catches him up, because Chetan is clearly faster than Deepak. He must be, otherwise he can't chase him down, right? So it's a straight road between Chetan to Deepak. Uh, let me clearly mention this that, okay, so let's say this is the initial separation, right? This is, let's say I'm marking this as point X, point Y. At point X, we have Chetan, and point Y, we have Deepak. Okay. Now, what happens? Deepak is running ahead. Okay. And ultimately, he gets caught at some point, call it point Z, right? He gets caught over there. Perfect. So, what is happening? Chetan has caught up Deepak at this point Z. And it is the only data that we have is this 2.5 times, right? He needs to run 2.5 times the initial distance between them, which is this distance xy, call it distance d. So how much he has run, Chetan, from point X he has run to point Z. So basically xy is given as, if we take xy as d, then it is given that the distance that Chetan runs, how much is Chetan running? From X to Z. So that X to Z is given as 2.5 times. So this xz is 2.5d. So xz is xy plus yz, xy is d. So how much is yz? Obviously 2.5d minus d. So this is nothing but 1.5d, right? Now, so this is basically a race, right? In any race problem, we know that in basically when we say a race, it means that two people are running for the same amount of time. And whenever that happens, then the ratio of the speeds of two persons is always the ratio of the distance covered by them in the same time. So we can get the ratio of speeds of Chetan and Deepak, right? We can get this ratio of speeds for both of them. So Chetan to Deepak, the ratio of speeds, Chetan to Deepak, is the ratio of the distance covered by them, which Chetan has covered xz, but in the same time, Deepak started from point Y, he has only covered distance yz, right? So xz, which is 2.5d, yz, which is 1.5d. So this is the ratio of speeds. dd cancels, 2.5 upon 1.5, or you can simplify is as this as 5:3, right? Multiply with 2, 5:3. Okay, so this is the inference that had to be drawn from the given conditions or given situation, right? Now the question is not asking this ratio, but from this ratio only we can then answer the question. If they instead run towards each other simultaneously, so there's another scenario, the same situation, but now they are not, Deepak is not running away from Chetan, but rather they are coming towards each other. If they run towards each other, what is the fraction of the distance covered by Deepak? Okay, so again, they will cover the distance in the ratio of their speeds simply. So what proportion of the distance will be covered by Deepak? So we have inferred that 5:3 is the ratio of the speeds of Chetan to Deepak. So basically, when they are coming towards each other, in the time that Chetan runs 5 units, Deepak runs 3 units. So out of a total of 8 units that is being covered, Deepak is covering 3 units. So 3 out of 8, right? That is a fraction of the distance which will be covered by Deepak, right? So, right, just from this 2.5 times information, we had to reduce the ratio of the speeds, and hence from 5:3, we can interpret that 3/8 of the distance will be covered by Deepak and the remaining 5/8 by Chetan, right? So a lot of questions on time and distance are about this ratio approach, right? That's what the point we are, getting over here. Perfect. Okay, next one. Here we go. All right, something on equations. Puneet spends part of his income on food and rent. Puneet spends part of his income on food and rent, right? The amount spent on food is 2/5 of the difference between his income and the amount spent on rent. The amount spent on rent is 1/4 of the difference between his income and the amount spent on food. So clearly from these statements we have to create some variables, equations, and then solve for something. What fraction of his income does Pony spend on food and rent? Since nothing is given, so no numerical monetary numbers, I can assume anything. So I think what I'll do is I'll take my income as something, some number, let's say 100 rupees. Okay, let's start from there. I'm taking my income as 100 rupees. It does not matter what I take. I can take it as a variable also, right? But I'm taking one of the things as a number, the income, the total thing, right? That is earning. From that, he'll be having something, he'll be spending something on food. So let me call that as some X rupees. And on rent, something, let me call that as some Y rupees, right? I'm taking two variables instead of three, right? Uh, So first of all, be very much clear about this, right? You can take one of the things as a number if nothing is given. It does not harm you, right? It will not change the answer. You could have taken X, Y, Z, three variables also. That will also give you the correct answer. Now, so the amount spent on food. So now what are the equations, right? The first equation, what we can write, the amount spent on food, which is X. X is 2/5. So X equals 2/5 of the difference of his income, which is 100, and the amount on rent, which is Y. So 100 minus Y. 2/5 of 100 minus Y. Okay, simplify this. So 5X is 200 minus 2Y, or 5X plus 2Y is 200. Perfect. So that's my first one. I'm expecting another one from the second statement. The amount spent on rent, which is Y is 1/4, so equals 1/4 of, again, the difference of the income 100 and the spent on food X. So Y is 1/4 of 100 minus X. Again, usual equation, 4Y is 100 minus X. So X plus 4Y is 100. Second equation, right? Just solve. This is 4Y, this is 2Y. Let me double this first equation, right? So 10X plus 4Y is 400, and then subtract these two. So 4Y cancels. 10X minus X, which is 9X, is 400 minus 100, which is 300. X is coming in fraction. So that, uh, I mean, mathematically, we know that, rupees is always at least, even if it's decimal, it is only in two decimals. So I think what I've done is I've taken a number. By chance, it has come in fraction 100 by 3, which means that income should have been a multiple of 3. Anyways, so we'll just let it be, right? X is 100 by 3, and means as a proportion, he's spending 1/3 on his food, right? So we can interpret basically 1/3 of the income is being spent on food. X is 100 by 3. Rent Y. So from the, let's say, first equation only. So 2Y is 200 minus 5X, which is 5 into 100 by 3. So 500 by 3. 600 minus 500, this is 100 by 3. So Y is coming to be 100 by 6 from here. 2Y is 100 by 3, Y is 100 by 6. Means he's spending basically 1/6 of his income on rent. So as a whole, 1/3 plus 1/6 uh, is the fraction of his income which he's spending on these two. 1/3 plus 1/6 is LCM of 6. 2 plus 1, 3. 3 by 6, which is simply half. So half is your required fraction that he's spending on food and rent, right? So um, a question on linear equations in which no numbers were given, right? Only relationships in terms of this is this much fraction of that was given. So the point is, in algebra, right, always try to minimize your dependence on variables. It's a simple question, right? If all of us can do this, but my point in this question was, right, instead of taking X, Y, Z, three variables, I took two variables. I took one of them as a number. So try to minimize your dependence on variables, right? That's the part that will make you, solve the problem quickly, right? If I had taken three variables, it would have taken slightly more, you know algebraic working, right? Lots of variables, so it takes time, right? So therefore, that's the point. Your NMAT is even more of a speed game, right? It's a race, a proper race exam, right, where you have to race against time, right? because questions are slightly on the easier level as compared to the CAT exam, right? So people are able to solve more, and therefore we have to be both accurate as well as efficient. Okay, so with that, let's see, here we go, the next one. Okay, something again on algebra, this time quadratic. Let's dive in. So if the roots of this equation 2x square minus 5x plus k equals 0 are in the ratio of 2 is to 3, then we ask for the value of k. Okay, so whenever some ratio is given, we always take a ratio constant and we define the quantities. That's the first thing. So 2 is to 3, so we take the roots to be something like, let's say 2 alpha 3 alpha, right? So sum and product of roots, we know those relationships. Sum of the roots is minus b by a, product of the roots is c by a, ax squared plus bx plus c, right? Minus b by a is sum of roots, product of roots is c by a. So just apply that, you'll get the value of this k, right? So sum of the roots, which is 2 and 3 5 alpha, should be minus of minus 5 by 2 or simply 5 by 2. So you're simply getting your alpha to be half. It simply means your roots are nothing but 1 and 3 by 2, right? So basically your roots become 2 alpha, which is 1, and 3 alpha, which is 3 by 2. These are your roots. Now therefore we can find the value of k, because k is related to, we know, the product of the roots. So product of the roots, which we know is k by 2, right, is actually 1 into 3 by 2, the product of the roots, which is nothing but 3 by 2. K by 2 is 3 by 2, or simply k is coming to be 3. There is the answer, right? Again, just a direct one again, right, on the concept of how the roots of any quadratic are related to its coefficients, right? Perfect. Okay, no doubts, any queries, please ask, right? I can also go back to any earlier question. Don't hesitate from asking. This is a live session, so make use of it. Okay, perfect. Ready for next one? Here we go. All right. How many points x, y exist on the curve x square plus y square equals 25 with integer coordinates? We know, we know that x square plus y square equals a square is the equation of a circle whose center is the origin 0 0 and whose radius is this constant term a, right? So on the coordinate plane, this would be a circle centered at the origin and its radius is 5, right? A square is 25, a is 5, right? Okay, so we are asked for the number of points on this curve, which is a circle, in which the coordinates of xy are both taking integer values, right? So that's your circle, something like that. So obviously these endpoints on the coordinate axis, which will be 5 comma 0, minus 5 comma 0, 0 comma 5 and 0 comma minus 5, these are the first 4 points which are very obvious, right? So very first option is 4. These 4 points are very obvious, right, on the coordinate axis. Now apart from that, we also know that the number 5 is involved in the simplest Pythagorean triplet. We know that 3 square plus 4 square is 5 square, right? So therefore the point 3 comma 4 is there, right? The point 3 comma 4 is there. Now we can also interchange this. We can also say that 4 square plus 3 square is 5 square. So on the coordinate plane, the point 3 comma 4 and 4 comma 3 are different. So there are these 2 points also, and there will be other points also in other quadrants, right? This is the first quadrant, so we can also go to the second, third, fourth. So we'll get likewise points like this will be, just on the same level, minus 4 comma 3, right? And again on the same level, minus 3 comma 4 in the second quadrant, and again go in the third quadrant, right? So this minus 4 comma 3 come over here and this will be here minus 4 comma minus 3, and over here minus 3 4, so this will be minus 3. I think I've just done one small thing over here. Let me just correct this. I mean, in my scaling part, obviously this should be 3 comma 4, right? The way I have placed them is slightly, I've just misplaced them. Let me just correct that, right? So obviously this will be 3 comma 4 because x is 3 here and x will be more here. This will be 4 comma 3. I had just swapped them, I think, right? And this will be minus 3 4, and this will be minus 4 3, and likewise here this one again, this one, right? So this minus 3 4, so this will be minus 3 minus 4, and this will be minus 4 minus 3, and likewise here also 2 points. So overall 1 2, these 2 points again replicate in all the three other quadrants as well. So I think you can understand there were these 4 points on the coordinate axis. Apart from that, 2 2 2 2, 8 more points have come across, isn't it? So a total of 12 points, a total of 12 points. So I think just a very simple question on your awareness of the Pythagorean triplet 3 4 5, right? And little bit understanding the concept that, you know, when we put this circle on the coordinate axis, right, 3 4 point will replicate in all the four quadrants with its sign. So basically there are these 8 points apart from, you know, the points on the coordinate axis, which is plus minus 3 plus minus 4 and plus minus 4 plus minus 3, right? So therefore these 4 points and these 4 points, 8 more points, 8 and 4, total of 12 points. Perfect. Okay, let's see next one. Here we go. Okay, one more question on time and distance. Yes, so time and distance is, you know, we know that time and distance, you know, has so much variety, right? So many different questions. Okay, this is something I think on circular, right? Circular motion. You can see two people start simultaneously from the same point and run on a circular track in the same direction. In the same direction. So just like the way a usual race happens, right? They meet each other for the third time. They meet each other for the third time after the slower person has completed exactly 7.5 laps. What is the ratio of speed of the faster to the slower person? Okay. Again, a question only on ratios. Okay. So this question tests your fundamental understanding of circular motion, right? When two people run on a circular track, what is the event? I mean, what leads to the situation that the faster person overtakes the slower person? I mean, what I'm trying to say, ask is, let's ask this question the other way around. If I had rather given you that, let's say the speed of the two people is, let's say, in the ratio of, let's call it as 7:5, okay, or something like that. Let's take something else. Let's take 5:4. It's not in the options. Something else I'm taking. So when will it happen that the two people, the faster person has overtaken the slower person? 5:4 is the ratio of speeds, right? So basically, when the faster person covers 5 rounds, the slower person covers 4 rounds, and they will be together at the starting point. In that scenario, basically the faster person has covered extra one more round than the slower person. So that's the point. In a circular track, the faster person overtakes the slower person because he has run complete one more circular track than the slower person. That's a simple fund over here. So and one more thing, the meetings between the two persons is always equally spaced apart, right? They are, so if three meetings have happened after the slower person has completed 7.5 laps, so for the first meeting to happen, how much would the slower person have run? How much would the slower person have run? One third of this distance, right? Because all the meetings are always equally spaced apart, right? So 7.5 laps. So for first meeting, it would have been 2.5 laps, one third of this 7.5 laps. So if the slower person has covered 2.5 laps for the first meeting to happen, how much would the faster person have covered? So now comes the logic which I was saying, that the faster person has to cover one more lap than the slower person. So the slower person has covered 2.5 laps. The faster person must have covered one more lap, which is 3.5 laps. And this is the distance, 3.5, 2.5 laps, which they are covering in the same time. So therefore, the ratio of their speeds is simply the ratio of their distances. So the faster person and the slower person have covered the distance of 3.5 and 2.5 laps. So the ratio of their speeds is this ratio itself, which can be simplified multiplying with 2, 7:5. That's the ratio. Isn't it? Right? So uh, bringing in some conceptual questions, right? Uh, and that is what we can expect, right? Okay. Now I'll take some questions. We know that NMAT comes up with questions on DS also, right? Data sufficiency, right? So here we'll go on a few questions on that. All right, here we go. So these are the usual options, right? All of us should be aware of the structure of data sufficiency. Two statements are there. We have to answer that which combination of informations is sufficient to answer the question. The question is asking a class of 20 students took a math test and scored an average of 72 marks. What was the highest score? Okay. 20 students, 72 marks. We can find the total marks, 72 into 20. That's what we know. So the way to approach data sufficiency, let me quickly summarize this. Look at statement 1 alone. See if it is sufficient or not. If it is sufficient, then your answer might be A or D, because first have become sufficient alone. So either one is sufficient alone, or two is, or one and two both are individually sufficient. So either A or D could be the option. Then move to statement 2. And by the way, if one was not sufficient, then in any case move to second statement and see it alone. If it is sufficient alone, and if one was not, then your answer is B. If one was sufficient alone, two has also become sufficient alone, then your answer is D. But if one is not sufficient alone, two is also not sufficient alone, then you move on to combine the statements. If combining you are able to answer the question, then your answer is C, that combining helps, else E. That is the algorithm, or that is the approach, right? So first analyze each statement on its own merit. Is it sufficient to answer the question? Statement 1 is saying highest score is choice of lowest score. Now statement 1 has introduced one more unknown, which is the lowest score. So in any which way, highest score is not known. You are also introducing one more variable, lowest score. So obviously statement 1 alone does not help, right? So we can put a small cross over here to denote that statement 1 alone does not work out. We'll come back to use it if both have failed individually. Second statement is saying if the highest and lowest scores are taken away, again this statement is again introducing some new variable, lowest score. So again, obviously by alone this will not be sufficient clearly, right? So we can cross this off on its own individually. Now we'll therefore need to combine these two statements, and let's see if we can reach to the answer, right? So from the first statement, we can say that if we take the lowest score as x, then we can take the highest score as 2x. From the problem statement, we know that 20 into 72, which is 1440, is the total marks. So now combine, we are taking the two statements together, right? So either answer is going to be C or E. If the highest and lowest scores are taken away, then the average score of the remaining students increases by 0.5 marks. We can now create an equation given that lowest score is x and highest score is 2x. So 72 into 20, or 1440, is the total marks. From this, remove the highest and lowest marks, which is x and 2x. 3x gets removed. So we're writing an equation for the average marks of the remaining 18 students, right? Two students out of 20 have been removed. Then the average score increases by 0.5. So this is the sum of the marks of the 18 students divided by the number of students, which is now 18, and that is given as 0.5 more than 72 marks, which is 72.5. So from this we know that we can solve for x and hence get the value of the highest score 2x. So statement 1 and 2 together are coming to be sufficient, right? So a pretty, you know, regular kind of a problem of DS, and right, combining does work in this case. So C is the answer. But always remember the algorithm, right? First check one alone, is it sufficient or not? Then check two alone is if it is sufficient or not. That has to be done always, right? That is the way to approach a DS problem. All right, let's take one more. Let's take one more. All right. Something new, something on numbers. Let's see. If n is a natural number, does 1 by n have a terminating decimal value? So this question, first of all, tests your understanding that when will a fraction be a terminating decimal value? That concept is being tested in this question very directly. Statements are given that one of the factors of n is 5, one of the multiples of n is 2500. Okay. So the point is 1 by n, this fraction, right, will be terminating if, so a decimal, a fraction is, of the form p by q. It's whether it is terminating or not depends on its denominator. Already the numerator is 1. It is the denominator, which is n, which will play the role. So the condition for a fraction to be terminating is that its denominator, which in this case is the number n, that n should be only comprised of certain combination of powers of 2 and 5. So the format of the number n should be 2 raised per something into 5 raised per something. So it should be containing only some powers of 2 and 5, nothing else, right? For example, you can check 1 by 2 is terminating, 1 by 5 is terminating, 1 by 20 is terminating, 1 by 125 is terminating, it is 0.008. Anything having only 2 and 5 in it, only that kind of fraction is terminating. Any other fraction containing any other prime factor in its denominator apart from 2 and 5 will always be non-terminating. Take any fraction. 1 by 3 is non-terminating, 1 by 7 is non-terminating, 1 by 15 is non-terminating. 15 has 5 in it, but it has 3 also, right? So now with this knowledge, this question is very straightforward. Statement 1 is saying one of the factors of n is 5. Okay, but so therefore n has 5, some powers of 5 in it, right? But then nobody is stopping the number n to have some other prime factors in it as well. One of the factors of n is 5. So does it have some other prime factors apart from 2 and 5 in it? Maybe, maybe not. We are not sure. So statement 1 is not sufficient for us to conclude that whether n has some other prime factors in it apart from 2 and 5 or not. We are not sure. We don't know. So statement 1 is not sufficient. Statement 2, one of the multiples of n is 2500. We know that if x is a factor of y, then y is a multiple of x. The relationship of factors and multiples is vice versa. If x is a factor of y, then y is a multiple of x, or other way around, if y is a multiple of x, then x is a factor of y. So if one of the multiples of n is 2500, it means that n is one of the factors of 2500. Now this is gold. Means this is exactly what I wanted to hear. one of the factors of 2500 is n, and 2500 is only comprised of powers of 2 and 5, right? So therefore n can only be comprised of some combination of 2's and 5's in it. So this is exactly what I wanted to conclude. So statement 2 is telling us that 1 by n will have a terminating value. Hence option B makes sense. Statement 2 is sufficient. All right. So I hope we are taking something from this session. I would be looking forward to hear from you people that which topics would you want some specific guidance on. I can bring some specific questions on the topics which maybe you want some revision, or you just think that okay, this topic I'm little bit not too confident, I want to practice more, right? So just send me your suggestions, right? That would help me to take forward your inputs, right? You can respond on the comment section of this video, right? Or you can send a comment right now on the live chat also. All right. So with this, happy Diwali first of all, right? Uh, right. Stay blessed, right? So we'll see you again. Just to remind you, Career Launcher mobile app is also live now. One of the many ways to connect with us and make use of the resources. It is available on both iOS as well as Android, right? So thank you, everyone. Number systems and functions, Shubham. All right, we'll take that. We'll take that. Thank you, Shubham. We'll do that. Number systems and functions. Yeah, we'll bring something on functions and numbers next time for sure. Thank you. Happy Diwali. All the best. Thank you so much.